Did you know that overcoming fear of swimming, fear of deep water, could be the key to unlocking a deeper trust in yourself? In today's episode on the podcast, we're diving into how facing your fears, like swimming, can teach you about confidence, safety, and overall transformation. My guest on the podcast shares her unique approach to helping adults overcome their fears and discover the joy of trusting their own abilities. Let's go. This is Lead with Confidence Now, the podcast dedicated to helping you grow your confidence and live your best life. I'm Travia Steward, and for the past 27 years, I've been on a mission to help you reinvent your relationships and career. My goal with this podcast is to show up for you so that you can rock your own world with the confidence to make that big change in your life you've been wanting to make. Today, I'm excited to welcome my guest on today's podcast, Cori Myka. And Cori is someone who works with individuals who are initially afraid of the water. And the reason why I wanted to have Cori on the podcast was because that is and sort of was my story. I'm working on it. And so I'm looking for help today as well, because Cori is the founder of Calm Within Adult Swim and the creator of Founders of Change method, which has helped so many adults go from scared to dip a toe in the water to confidently diving in the deep end. Now I'm like, is that the deep end of the pool or the deep end of like the Indian Ocean? And so my guest, Cori, has been featured on NPR, the USA Today, for her game-changing approach to teaching adults how to swim. And she is the founder of the Orca Swim School in Seattle. She even helps people online. And I would love to dive into how that works, and even retreats that we're going to talk about at the end of the episode. So my peeps, welcome my guest today, Cori Myka. Welcome, Cori.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I love having a host who's like, what tips you got for me? It's so good for people to hear that kind of vulnerability too, because a lot of people
Yes.
don't want to talk about that. It's something that they don't know how to do.
You're right. So, as I've already mentioned, I'm not a fan of the water. So, before we dive into it, will you just set the stage, give my listeners a little bit of who you are, why you show up the way you do, like your purpose, your impact, why swimming and online, what led you down this path? So, give us a little backstory of that journey.
So here's one piece of the backstory, which is I am the swim teacher who has never finished a swimming lesson herself. So this is sort of what I share in common with my students. Now, when I was a kid, my mom faithfully put me in swimming lessons, and they'd say things like, well, swim out to me. And I'd say, okay, but don't step back. And they'd say, all right. I'll put my little face in the water, and I have my eyes open, and I'm like, I can see you stepping back. I can see you walking backwards. And I like stand up. I'm not having any of this. I am not having any of this.
Yeah.
So, those were my swimming lesson experiences as a kid. Ear infections, tummy aches, which really I think were symptomatic ways of me getting out of an environment that I didn't feel safe in. And it really wasn't, for me, it wasn't the environment of I can give you some trickle, like how is it that I actually can do this? But it was the environment of the class. It was the environment of being pushed. It was the environment of not being held in space of, you little child can figure this out in the way that is safe and trustworthy to you. I was required to do, what they were telling me to do on their timeline. So, and that's really kind of underlines and underpins my, like, who I am and how I show up. That yes, I teach people how to swim, but really what I'm teaching people is how to tune into themselves, how to build trust with themselves while they're coming to understand this new environment, so they can understand how their body and the water works together, instead of going into the water and being like, I have to be like all those amazing people, or I have to look like this or be like that, which let's face it, we all know in the world doesn't really work at the end.
It doesn't.
Yeah. We have to show up and be our authentic selves, which turns out is true in the water too. So I use the water as a vehicle for people to come to understand and build their own confidence and trust and joy and learning environment. And that's really what in the water, out of the water. It's why it works. There's so much online too, and in retreat
Yeah.
in different spaces. It's transferable.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, Corey, here's the deal. I actually took swimming lessons. My sister put me in swimming lessons when I was like 10. It was just for one summer. And there was, something we were doing where the instructor was like, okay, we were working on diving jumping off of the diving board. And I hit my head on it. And so I mean, I wasn't a swimmer to begin with, but then I hit my head, which I feel like traumatized me for a long time. I didn't grow up in a family that when we went to the beach, I'm from the New Orleans area, so we sat on the steps and we sat on the grass and we looked out. And we would go down to Biloxi, Mississippi, and we would dip our toes in the water, but never go out there. So I didn't come from a family who really encouraged swimming. My mother herself said, we're not supposed to be playing out there in that kind of water. So, Corey, my question with with receiving all of that, what's the thing that you say to me to get me? Now, I've had some experiences of where I've been out there, but I'm coming to your swim academy today and I'm like, I don't want to do it. Don't want to do it, but I'm here. So talk me through, a little bit of this fear, getting comfortable. How do you help me overcome that?
Well, the first piece is we want to really honor the narrative in which you come from and see what is really useful from that narrative, right? Like to have a mom that says, this was her loving you, right? She's like, you're my precious, beautiful baby. And I don't know how to take care of you out there. And I know people die out there. So I am going to do this very loving thing and tell you and inform you and give you lots of messages around this is where we belong over here because I know how to keep you safe here, right? So
Right.
we want to really honor that space to begin with because sometimes we can have a less honoring way of thinking about that space. And we want to pull through what's the truth in that is that you now coming to me as an adult, you're like, I can see people do get to go in. And there is a way to be safe in the water as well. How is it that I go forward with that? And so that's what we want to start crafting is how do you know from within yourself that you are safe? And you can feel it all the way into your body. Oftentimes people will start out and maybe you've had this experience like you're sitting on that shore or you're sitting next to a pool and your heart is already beating. And when we're in that hyperactive state, we're not truly as safe because you're in fight or flight. So we even just sitting and spending time, okay, hang on, let my brain and my nervous system catch up to I am safe right here and right now. And we start developing that to notice, yes, this is safe. And it's safe because I have self-autonomy. I get to decide when I go in or not or what my situation is. And I'm safe because frankly, air is easy. Like that's the bottom line in swimming.
True.
Right?
Yes.
I actually, oh yeah, I can breathe all I want. It's good.
Yes.
And then we proceed with always keeping track of those things, not doing all of the things, not pushing ourselves, but keeping track. Do I actually feel attached to my own personal safety and autonomy? And do I know that air is easy anytime I want? That's the equation we keep working with.
I totally get that. So as I think about what you just shared with me, it brings me back to, like I said, I've had some experiences in the water. And it brings me back to my partner. Like aqua woman, so swims all the time. When she was 10, she was jumping off of a hotel balcony into the hotel pool, which I know we're not supposed to be doing, and I'm not, encouraging anyone to do that. And I thought she was crazy for doing it. But it's one of the funny stories that we now laugh at. We were traveling over to the Dominican Republic, and I had never really, I mean, I'd kind of, walked out in the water up to my knees or something like that, but I never snorkeled. So we practiced in our swimming pool, practice, with, because I can swim from end to end. Don't ask me to tread water and don't ask me to float. Right. So when we're in the Dominican Republic, we had practice in a swimming pool, put mask on, put the, what do you call that little thingy?
Snorkel.
Snorkel. Okay. Put that on. But what I didn't plan for was the water that would come up into my mask because I already had it on. So I thought, yeah, I can control it. I can decide when I want to go in. And everyone else jumped out of the boat into the water to snorkel. And I was like one of the last ones in. I jump in and then immediate panic because the water engulfed me. So how would you advise me to change that so that I feel comfortable the next time I go in?
Yeah. So you had a plan for having air be easy, which was the snorkel, that you didn't have to learn another way to get air. But we also want to have a backup way. If that way, that was a very tender new way. And I love that you did it in a pool first. That was good there. And the reason why doing it in the pool first worked, and I'm going to make an assumption here, is that you were in shallow water when you were practicing in the pool, perhaps.
Yeah,
And
it's like 10 feet.
okay, well, that's not shallow water.
Right. But see, I can see the bottom.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So that's another piece of it. So the shallow water piece is oftentimes we start in shallow water because you could use the bottom as an alternative way to get air, right? My mask fills
Right.
up. So we have a backup plan. You jumping off the boat, maybe you wanted a backup plan of not just like going down the ladder and putting, the mask on and then noticing something like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out because I can't see. You mentioned, in the pool in the 10 feet, you could see the bottom. And that really is, this goes back to why we do so much online too. That's a mental fear, right? That somehow seeing the bottom makes you safe. The
Right.
truth is, for most people, you can't get to the bottom of 10 feet. It's very difficult to get to the bottom of 10 feet.
It
My
is.
22-year-old skinny male child can, because he's not very buoyant. But women, by and large,
Yeah.
we're buoyant. And then you're talking salt water, you're buoyant. Um, but there's questions here that need to be uncovered for you in a place that's there's enough room for you to get it wrong and still be safe. Could I go in and have my mask fill up with water and still keep connected to I am safe? Jumping off the back of the boat, that might have been too big of a leap for that because we have to uncover all of these little questions. But now
Yeah.
you have some of these questions that you could go uncover in a place that's simpler and easier, that you can use curiosity instead of, I need to do it right now.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
never going to be here again. I just have to do it.
Yeah, because you're right. You're so right. Because as an adult, I mean, truth be told, I have felt a level of embarrassment that I will get in, because again, I know you spoke about it earlier that we want to fit in and, it's peer pressure and everybody we're traveling with, they're all swimming and they're going down to the bottom. It's 30 feet deep and there's a chair down there. And one of our friends went all the way down and sat in the chair. And we took a GoPro under there. We could see him in the chair for a brief moment. He didn't even wear a life vest.
And got down to the bottom of 10 feet?
It was like 25 or so. Yeah, he went on down there. I mean, he could hold his breath for minutes.
Okay.
So
That's a
I don't,
special kind of talent, let's just
I
say.
guess
That's
so.
very rare. I mean, that's not a very common thing that people are able to do.
How would someone develop that level of confidence in the water?
Time and trust building, right? So I'll take you back to my story. When I was
Please.
5 years old,
Yeah.
didn't trust the teacher, right? Didn't trust that learning environment.
Hmm.
I I trusted myself. I don't know why, but bravado of a 5-year-old, but
Yes.
right. Um, Trusted myself, trusted the water environment. I did grow up in a swimming family, right? So I was given subconscious small messages about safety in the water and about that
Hmm.
this is something that we do and I do. So I had that advantage, right? That um, you had a different story, right? Your parents
Hmm.
kept you, or your mom kept you safe in a different way. But when I went to the water to learn to swim, really, I found a place that felt safe to me. And it wasn't in the context of having to keep up with classmates or with other people. It was in a context. At that time, I played a game I called Lost in Outer Space. Right? I was young during the space age, right? That was really big in media and stories. And so I used this curiosity. I went to the pool away from the other kids, near the lifeguard. I like had this little place and I just said, what happens if I do this? And what happens if I do that? Right? I
Yeah.
just discovered and played. And I really kept track of I am safe. And what I do is for me. And it's about my own discovery. And I did that over and over and over and over again. And I would bet that that person who could swim to the bottom of 25 feet has had thousands of hours discovering and playing in the water. And it's kind of like when you learn a new language, you could take 4 years of Duolingo and then you go to Mexico and you're like, ¿cómo
Hola.
está? Hola. Yeah, you're just
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you get your adult brain knows if you're going to do a new language, you have to give yourself time and exposure and grace and think of yourself as a 2-year-old, as a 1-year-old in terms of language
Mm.
development, even though your brain can think at a very adult, mature level, there's a gap. And we have to give space to allow ourselves to be the child learner and hold the adult part of ourselves to be the kind of like the loving parent to the child part that's learning.
So, Corey, what do you think? Because this podcast is Lead with Confidence now. If you had to go, like, what is the impact that confidence speaking on stage, confidence running a marathon, confidence doing whatever else outside of the water? What do you think? How do you think that affects like an adult, not a kid, but an adult? If they are confident in other areas of their life, how can they transfer that level of confidence, or could they, in the
Mhm.
water?
They absolutely can. And I mean, this is where all these things certainly weave together, right? Um, and you do, when you go to the water as an adult, you do want to borrow confidence from other areas. We don't want to borrow your end capability. Let's just say if you're a marathon runner, you don't want to borrow that, like, I can run for a really long time and, blah, blah, blah. Like Michael Phelps
Yeah,
can swim for a really long time. We don't want to
right.
compare those two things. We want to spend time seeing things like when I decide to do something, I'm very committed, right? I have confidence in my ability to do hard things. You want to use some more global beliefs about yourself that help you engage in the new area. And that's how you borrow into.
Okay.
And or you see things like, okay, hang on. Let me really look and see what those beginning steps were. I didn't start with marathon running. I started with doing 5Ks. No, no, no. Actually, I started with running around the block. No, no, no. Actually, I started with being a kid on the playground who just loved to chase after the ball. Like we have to
Mm,
go back and see what is it that really built up that confidence. And
yeah.
when I was running after the ball, my parent was like, "Woohoo! You're the fastest ball catcher ever!" Right? So have these
Yes.
kind of beliefs instilled.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So I'm so curious. How do you go about, I mean, without giving away the kitchen sink, teaching people how to swim online? You're not even in person with them. How does that happen?
So how that happens is that, like the illustration with the runner, we as adults we see the big milestone steps. And so what I bring to people in the online learning is the smaller in between steps that can be challenging for somebody to think of, right? Because you're like, I mean, just the example you gave of snorkeling, you broke it down to doing it in a pool, but you were doing it at a 10-foot pool, and you were probably only considering the physical skills. You weren't considering the mental pieces that were also affecting what you were doing.
Totally.
So in the online program, we're giving people both of those. We're giving you insight into unpacking the mental pieces so that you can understand the physical pieces in a new way that actually sticks, that actually makes sense, that unfolds some of these other beliefs that you've just been pushing by and pushing through, so we can have true, deep, lasting learning.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now we've gotten comfortable, semi comfortable in the water. There was another time we snorkeled over in St. Lucia and I was successful, right? I didn't panic. I think that was a time maybe I did use the ladder, but I also used I had some help with relaxing. Like we were on a tropical vacation. So I drank a beer. I had a noodle. And then I love being able to see like a rock formation that was close. And I guess because, like I shared earlier, I can swim from side to side, but don't ask me to tread the water. And I will probably, if I was ever dropped off in the water, I will wear myself out and drown because relaxing in the water is so difficult for me. And so, hence, which is I'm guessing why I don't float naturally. Like I sink. Like I think my upper body stays and then my lower body starts just going down in the water. So what I'm asking is, do you advocate, suggest, advise something that makes us feel a little more comfortable? Like I know the noodle helps. I know seeing the rock helps, those types of things. And are there other ways that you could help even someone like me get more comfortable by depending on or bringing in something that will help me feel more comfortable?
Absolutely. I mean, you started off, I mean, snorkeling, people wear a mask because it makes it more comfortable to see. Expert swimmers do that. The Olympics, they all are wearing goggles. They have swim caps on. They have swimming suits on, covering up parts of their body they don't want to expose, right? You can say all of those things are tools that they use to have them be more comfortable. But as a non-swimmer or somebody new to anything, we might discount ourselves in using of those tools. So that's that mindset piece that we have to watch, what our narrative is, that somehow this makes us less than. You would never say it's a problem to wear a seatbelt when you're driving, that it makes you a bad driver, right?
True,
You're like,
true.
no, it's a sign of a good driver. That sign of a good driver gets in and has some situational awareness and thinks ahead of times of unprobable, but sometimes things happen, right? That people get ejected from cars. So we all, we put our seatbelts on. It doesn't mean anything negative about our driving ability. And so I'd say the same is true in terms of the swimming. There were so many things in what when you said, and so I'm like, which one should we talk about? So I went down
Whatever
the
one you
black
want.
route. The other one that hooked me, I'll just say, in what you said, was it so difficult for me to relax in the water. And so this is very common. And so we can wonder on that, like, what do we think is going to happen if you relax? What would be the problem with relaxing?
I think I'm gonna sink.
Yeah. And so we wouldn't do that in the middle of the ocean because that's the stakes are too high on that, right? It's if you think you're going to sink if you relax, of course you're not going to relax in the ocean then. That's just not doesn't make sense. If we want to work with that, again, we go to a place where it's okay to sink 2 feet of water, right? Like, would it be
Okay.
okay to sink in 2 feet of water?
Yes.
Yeah, because you could, it's like laying on the ground and then you could stand up. Um,
Yeah.
and so that is the place that we need to go. So you've had this thought now, it's tough for me to relax. Do I want to do something with that? Okay, yes or no, you get to decide. But that would be my thing. Like, okay, let's go to a 2-foot pool and see. What happens when you relax?
Okay.
And notice. Yeah. And then
Okay.
then we don't have to be worried. Like then we know what it is.
Right. Okay. Okay. I get that. So this is a question that always comes up because of you watch the news all the time and it's like, oh my God, the Pacific Ocean, there's sharks out there. We are actually going into their home, their environment. And how do you overcome that fear?
Well, the truth is, I mean, again, we'll go back to this like borrowing confidence from other places. You go to any environment, there is some danger. People who live in the country think going to the city is dangerous. People who live in the city think going to the country is dangerous. Right? Like,
Yeah.
there's, it's like this idea of the unknown. And there is to say, yeah, there are dangers in the city, there are dangers in the country. Those are also factually true. It's okay. How is it that I go about navigating those sorts of things? When I go to the ocean, is nobody else is swimming? Well, maybe the locals know something that I don't know. Not every body of water, right, is meant for
Yeah.
somebody to swim in, humans to swim in. I mean, I could probably look around my room right now and find a spider somewhere in here, right? Like, but is it bothering me? Is it a
No.
problem? Right? Do I need to be on guard all the time about a spider? You know, probably not. If I came to, your area where you're describing in New Orleans and Mississippi, I'm like, yeah, there's snakes and there's stuff there that I don't have here in
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
I would take my time and like, okay, well, the locals are going to this park or doing this thing that I think there might be some kind of animal.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Okay.
slow it down. There's ways to solve those problems. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So I know you have a method called the foundations of change. So
Mhm.
let's say someone is listening to this podcast and they're like, I'm still not quite convinced that I should sign up for this. How could the foundations of change, of you just giving us a little peek into that, get those people over the hump?
Yeah. So the foundations of change is where we talk about that learning to swim or learning anything is two parts mental to one part physical. And so it really is, as we've been talking, it's about starting with our personal story. What are we telling ourselves right now? Where are we physically located right now? And understanding that and to see, is that story that we're telling, is this in alignment with where I want to go? Where I want to go is usually to feel confident, to feel safe. So we want to get these two things in alignment. We can't tell ourselves like this isn't like Pollyanna happy story, make everything
Right.
like don't worry. No, no, no. It's like it's being truthful. It's like that sitting on the side of the pool. My story is I don't know how to swim and I don't know what to do and all that. But okay, hang on. Do I know how to sit here and have air? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And is this more in alignment with what I want? Yeah, it's feeling confident. Okay,
Yeah.
now I can get curious about what is the next action step that I can hold on to those mental pieces. I can stick my
Uh,
feet in the water and waggle them around. Okay, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
right. Now I've just grown a little bit. Look at me. I'm keeping myself safe and I'm moving forward towards my goal.
Gotcha. Perfect. Who is the perfect person? What type of person is the perfect person for your program and for learning to swim as an adult?
Well, my darling, you.
Yes.
The perfect person is somebody who loves the water, like is attracted to the water, like knows, there's something about the water, as long as it doesn't go past 5 feet, right? That like sense of, I love it as long, right?
Yeah. I love a
Um,
swimming pool.
yeah. And so it's like, I want to be there. I know there's something for me there. So many of us are connected to the water. We love to go see sunsets over the water. We love to, as we were talking before, we love to take a shower that clears, our minds and our thoughts way, right? We have a connection to water. A lot of us
Absolutely.
do. And so it's people who have a connection like that, but it's like, yeah, as long as it doesn't go past 5 feet, there's something that changes. And I'm curious to bring a change to it. I'm curious to see what is there for me. I'm willing to take a journey for myself, to grow and discover and have fun out there. Find that fun that
Nice.
I deserve in the world.
Yes. Corey, I know that you mentioned you have a retreat coming up in Hawaii, of all places. I've been to Hawaii once, went
Hmm.
to the Big Island, so beautiful.
Hmm.
And my goodness, the water is so clear because yearly we tend to go to Puerto Vallarta, but Hawaii is a different level of beauty. So tell us a little bit about your retreat that's coming up. How can we sign up? Who is this best for? Just give us the deets.
Yeah. So this Hawaii retreat, we go, this one's in Maui. We have been to the Big Island too. It's beautiful there too. We go to Maui, where they have sandy beaches. That's a big piece of why we're going there. And it's really for people wanting to do the things that you were talking about, of wanting to be able to take a step into the snorkeling, into the ocean.
Yeah.
But we are building it up for them step by step. So this isn't our very foundational course. It's not the very beginner course. So it really is meant for people who have done the foundation work online with us or in an in-person class with us. And then they're like, all right, I want to go do that boat experience with somebody who's going to be there and help give me those small steps, that I'm not going to just jump in the water and end up with a flooded mask, or I'm not going to be doing,
Right?
yeah, doing the snorkeling thing with like a whole tourist boat full of people. I'm going to have
Yes.
somebody who's going to do it with me step by step and share that joy and never make me feel behind. And that I have my cohort with me that are also like, here we are.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So good. Now, did I miss it, or when is this retreat taking place?
It's in April for my birthday. End of
Oh,
April, April
okay.
23rd. Makes it easy for me to remember.
Okay. Okay.
So
Perfect.
it's in the perfect timing to like have that, okay, that is my committed goal. And now it's going to hold me to my New Year's, we're kind of in that zone, right? That New Year's
Yes.
zone of doing
Yes.
those new things, that I'm going to
Absolutely.
do the foundational lessons and have myself prepared for that
Gotcha.
space. Yeah.
Perfect. So, as we begin to wrap up, Corey, why do you love this work?
I love this work, because my brain just went to Rhonda, who in 2019, she went to Hawaii with us. And that is the best hug I have ever experienced, on the back of that boat when she got in after she like did her life dream. Um, Rhonda is like this smart, she was a principal, school principal. She's so capable in so many areas, but she had a family similar to yours in terms of that messaging as a young person. Made sure her kids learned how to swim so she didn't pass it on. She had a experience as a young adult or as a teenager that really scared her and said, "Nope, not for me." But she just held that dream, and oh man, Rhonda's hug. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feeling
I
that
can
joy.
imagine that. Rhonda's hug. Yeah, it's why we do what we do, right? It's having the impact. So if you could be known for one thing in this world, and it's your legacy, it's your shingle, you hang your hat on it, everyone who comes after you remembers you for that thing. What is that thing?
That thing is for each person to truly have space to love and believe in themselves. That I inspired them for their way to love and believe in
Yeah,
themselves.
it's beautiful. So as we wrap up, Corey, is there anything else that you would like to share that I possibly didn't ask?
I think maybe just like how people could get started easily. We talked about the online.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
we do have on our websites, we have a free intro course so people can kind of dip their toe in without having to put a swimsuit on, make the big commitment, right?
Yeah.
Start to think about their swimming in a new way, or just even if you're not there swimming, just thinking about learning in a new way and learning in a way to see how this breaking down swimming in this way could be useful to you in other areas of your life.
Yes, and I have all of your information, and I'm going to put it in the bottom of the show notes. The website is adultswimlesson.com, and you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube. And Cori, I must say, when I was doing a little bit of research of course, for this episode, I looked up your YouTube channel, and you've got some really cool stuff there, like some really cool videos that you've uploaded and recorded on there. And so I feel like it's such a great place, a great resource. So my peeps, if you are wanting to really, get an inside look, or I feel like it even gave me a little bit of, like, I was feeling a little more calm. And so I was getting some knowledge and some insight. And so I watched several of the videos, and it's it's a great place for knowledge if you want to feel a little more comfortable in the water.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, well, Cori, thank you so much. And I think you have such a cool name, Cori Myka. Is
Yeah.
that your full name? Like, is Cori your full first name, or is it like a stage name?
It's not a stage name, but
Okay.
it's a name. My full name is Corrine, but not even my mother calls me that.
Okay.
But the Myka, that's a made up name. We made that up when we got married.
Really? So
First two
cool.
letters of my husband's previous last name and the last two letters of my previous last name.
Talk about creating what you want in this world. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, Cori, thank you so much. I have been educated. I'm going to think about that 2 parts mindset to 1 part physical the next time. We do have a vacation scheduled. We're going to Destin, Florida in May. And the beautiful white sands, and the water's beautiful over there as well. So I am going to think about everything that you shared today and find my level of confidence in the water
Nice.
in Destin.
All right.
So
I love it. It
perfect.
sounds
All
beautiful.
right.
You got me
Perfect.
jealous.
Girl, you're going to Hawaii a month before. I'm jealous of that.
I am. And I'm going to Mexico in May. So, I do
Well,
have some
see?
good things.
There we go. You got a lot of good things going. Okay, perfect. Well, Cori, thank you so much for joining us today and really giving to my community, because I love having people on the podcast that I can learn from and that I feel like my peeps can learn from as well. So thank you so much for everything that you've given today.
You're welcome. Thank you.